What's up? What's good? What is happening? Welcome to the King and Me show. I'm one half of this thing, King.
Hey y'all, it's me, Michelle. How y'all doing?
Here at the King and Me show, we offer a real outlook on a healthy relationship. Real being relatable,
Entertaining
accountable,
and loving.
and we have a couple of housekeeping things that we have to do before we get into this thing. All right. First thing being, Michelle, do the honors.
Da-da-da-da. We have a new month upon us, y'all. So, like I said, I have the same calendar at work, so I know what the month of May looks like. So I'm gonna go ahead and flip this bad boy that I still haven't adjusted to compensate for the fact that there's like a little stickiness. Oh, come on, Jesus. Come on. Rotate.
You got this. You got
Do
this.
I got this? You ready?
I got faith.
You ready?
All right, what's May? Boom. We were in Denver. No, not Denver. Dover, Delaware. The one state that starts with a D. That's dope.
Yes.
All right. So we are live May the 6th. And today's live stream topic is going to be about relationships and how long or how short them suckers be lasting.
Not how short them suckers be lasting.
All right. Now, one of the things that I've said about our live stream is that it is always going to be about the real, right? What you see with us is what you get. How we are here and in person is how we are if you see us outside as well.
Mhm.
And that's how we look at relationships and things like that. We'd rather have an honest, open, and transparent conversation. Shout out to the real Precious.
Shout out to Precious.
And something that affects everybody, right? Like if you are a human being breathing, unless you are a monk in a monastery or somebody that is in solitary confinement, your relationships, not just like romantically and all them other types of like love or whatever, but just the relationships that you have with other people are something that's going to affect you. So we just wanted to have a conversation about that. We have a guest that is backstage that Michelle knows. Michelle, how do y'all know each other? That's a fair
Make
question.
sure you catch this freeze frame and like use that for something.
That's a fair question.
Nah. So about 2 years ago, or probably longer, I had connected with Kaleem on Facebook, and he did what people do.
You can stop there. All
Okay.
right. So that's how we know the
Okay.
guest.
Okay.
We'll just say that.
We'll just leave it there. Okay.
And there was an interesting public post that he had talked about, and that's really about the subject. So I asked him if he was willing to come on, like not get into his life or anything like that, but what he talked about was something that I used to talk about all the time,
Mhm.
and just observationally how I was looking at relationships and how they lasted and things like that. So I asked Kaleem if he was willing to come on and chat with us. We did some tech testing beforehand, so let's see if it works. He's backstage now. Let's bring the brother up. Hey, Kaleem, can you hear us? Oh,
Oh
no.
no.
We could hear you earlier. If you can hear us, we can't hear you.
You can't hear me?
Oh, we can hear you now.
There you go.
Now. Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. Okay.
All right. All right. So we got everything figured out right in the nick of time.
Let's go.
So let's get into it. Start us off for a bit because I want to bring up the specific thing that was said to kind of lead us off into this. So just kind of kick things off.
Kick things off.
Kick
All
things
right,
off.
bet.
You got this.
All right, so Kaleem, while King is pulling that up, first of all, like, how have you been? How's life? What's going on? What's new? So I know a little bit about you because we are connected on social media, and relation wise, like, or geographically, we're not too far from one another. But our audience doesn't know you, so tell us a little bit about you, a little bit about your background. You don't have to go in depth, but let us know who you are.
My name is Colleen Johnson from Philadelphia, PA. I live in Hagerstown, Maryland right now. A father of girls and one boy. Married twice. Entrepreneur. Um, man, what else? I'm just living life, trying to figure things out at the age of 40. I'll be 45 on Thursday. So just trying to figure some things out um, before I turn 45 in the next couple of days. But yeah, nothing too exciting, just living life.
That's dope, man. Hey, so all of us out here living, man. And I was actually just in your neck of the woods up in Philly this past weekend. We're staying up
Well,
in Chinatown, had some fantastic food. Although I wasn't a fan of the service charge that they tend to tack on everywhere that you go out to eat, man, in downtown Philly.
yeah, it's crazy out here.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, the thing that you posted on Facebook, I'm going to read out, man. Is that okay?
Oh yeah, that's fine.
All right. So you wrote, if you were married before, would you get married again? If you've never been married before, do you think it's still in the cards for you? 2 11-year marriages in the rearview mirror. And let me tell you, I've seen the highs, the lows, and everything in between. But hold on to your hats because come May 9th, I'll be strutting into 45 like I own the place. And I'm starting to think that marriage just isn't for me. Dot, dot, dot. Well, not one that goes beyond 11 years. And then you wrote, let's talk about it. And I was fascinated by just that question in general because some of that statement I felt after my first marriage. I
Hmm.
I was married for 15 years. I divorced around 2019, and I didn't get married the first week that I was getting divorced, but yet it happened, right? You've done it twice now. What do you think were some of the common things you saw in both of the marriages, or things that happened, if you don't mind sharing, that kind of led you to where things are at now, my man?
Well, the common thing in both of the marriages is myself, right? Um, I think my first marriage was really young. So I was with my first wife at the age of 18. And we got married later on in a relationship, but we were together from 18 to the age of 30 years old.
Okay.
Um, my my second marriage, the issue was I didn't give myself enough time to really deal and heal with the stuff that I went through in the first marriage. And I came into my second marriage presenting this guy who had it all together. When the reality was that I was extremely broken and I was still dealing with a lot of trust issues. I was dealing with the fact I've been in relationships since the age of 13. So my first love, Tarina, from Tarina to my first wife at 18. So I never had like the freedom. I never really enjoyed the idea of being single. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
now, now I don't know if I care about being single, but I just know it was something I didn't experience. And I had my first daughter at the age of 19, and all I wanted to do was be a great father. To be honest, like that's all I really wanted. Um, I some of the common things that I experienced, I would say, is my first relationship. We were growing together, trying to figure things out as we came into adulthood. But the reality is that we went into it as kids, right? So
Mm.
we're making stuff up as we go along, and there was a lot of decisions that she made and that I made, in, while considering each other, that we probably begin to resent later on in the relationship because we wanted more freedom and more flexibility. In my second marriage, her family said they didn't think she was going to get married. You know,
Hmm.
she was in corporate America, living her life, had boyfriends and stuff like that. But she was like, I'm not having the kids. I'm not getting married, right? And so she was learning things that I had already known, even about the children. We didn't have a daughter until 6 years into the marriage, and I was telling her this is going to change your life, you know. And I just want to be a mother. I just want to be a mother. All right. And so she became a mother, and it changed her life completely. And so It's just
Mm-hmm.
things like that. But the main thing, the common denominator, I would say, is myself. And I would say a lot of, I'm not going to go too far in, but I think a lot of times when men, especially men, say we don't know if we can be married or if we want to be married, it's probably something that we know that we're internally for ourselves that we're still dealing with, and we know we're not ready to be married. And it's just that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, no, let me be clear. I don't like generalizing. For me, that's what it is.
Well, you know what, man? I'll tell you. People like to say that I've said I will never get married again. And I'm like, hey, I talk very publicly out here on these YouTube and Facebook streets. So, but I have known that I've said I don't see myself getting married again. I think that that's a difference between never and don't see. And since I've gotten to know this lady right here, my stance has softened a bit on it. It's not like I'll say as a like about 2 years ago, it would itch me to even think about trying to do it again. Now I don't necessarily itch. I'll just I'll keep it like that. But I had a lot of growing to do myself, man. After my divorce, I went through the 5 stages of grief. What is it? Denial, anger. I know the last is acceptance, bargaining, and I forget what that fifth one is. But the fact that I was able to recall four out of
Or
five
yeah,
is dope.
hey.
And I also had started to see a therapist, man, myself because I told myself that there is something that I needed to work on. It didn't take other people seeing something in me to tell me that. I just got to the point to where I didn't like the outcomes that I was getting with the relationships that I was jumping into, and I
Right.
wanted to have a different outcome. I wanted to have something that had a little bit more meat to it. And what's interesting is that when I met her, it was a setup. And I told the person who set us up, I ain't looking for nobody. So if you're trying to
Mm.
set me up, like, I don't care. No, I'm not interested. And then I was like, well, what does she look like? Then I'm like, no, 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 because that shouldn't matter. But,
Word.
I think that the key thing for us that works is that I met her knowing who I was and in a better place. And she met me knowing who she was and in a better place. And that's what we talk about on our channel is that instead of the representative, like you talked about earlier, we always like to say, be hot with somebody, honest, open, and transparent. Don't show up with a representative, show up as you.
Yeah.
And if that person rocks with you, they'll rock with you. If they don't want to rock with you, then they aren't gonna, what I'm saying, choose to rock with you. So I think that a lot of what I say is what you also said too, and I just find like that common thing right there fascinating.
Yeah.
I think when it
No.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. You go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. You're the guest. Go ahead. They hear me talk all the time. Go ahead. I'll say something later.
Yeah. No. I just think obviously the representative is a much easier thing to put forward early on, but it obviously doesn't have a lasting effect in any relationship. And when that mask is taken off, whether it's on her or you, the man, it tends to get pretty ugly in that situation. So, um, me and her did a podcast a few in 2020 um, called Faith Revealed, and we talked about both of us coming into the relationship presenting something other than what we were, and when things hit the fan, um, it was like we didn't know each other. And what I heard you say
Mm,
about what I heard you say about um, how you once felt absolutely not about marriage, and now you may be lightening up a little bit. Excuse me, my allergies. Um, I think what's happening is that you guys are becoming friends. You're friends, right? And you develop a friendship over time, and then marriage, if it's in the cards, marriage should happen. But a lot of us are skipping the hard work. We're skipping the real questions, and we're skipping the process. And then 5 years down the line, 7 years down the line, and for some people, 2 years down the line, they're like, what did I do? And the answer is really simple. You skip the process. Um, you know, so when I met my second wife, I met her online, right?
Mhm.
Um, I was coming out of a relationship that I met someone at work. And now it's this new world where you're hitting like, send a flirt. What's up with you? All this, it's so easy. There's no real investment in this thing. And we're putting up the best pictures we can find and the description of ourselves. We're trying to sell ourselves on these platforms. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And nobody on a dating platform is going to say, "Hey, look, my life is a mess right now. Deal with it." Right? And so you're going to put your best bio out there, which is going to attract someone. And now, after you have attracted that person, are you now going to say, "Hey, by the way, my life is a mess. Everything I said on my profile is a lie"? You're probably not. And so that's the mess that I found myself in. She found herself in. And now my kids with her um, have to deal with the result of broken hearts because of a broken home, because we didn't do the hard work early on.
Now, it's, I think, interesting to realize that now. How do we get people that are in this swipe left, swipe right era? How do we get them to recognize that younger before life altering decisions are made? Because I haven't figured that out yet.
Well, media, what you guys are doing right now, if more shows are created outside of these nonsense relationship shows where they run around and they give a whole bunch of sound bites that someone who's miserable can agree with as to justify why they may be single, nothing of real substance. Relationships are not one size fits all, right? You guys know that. I know that it's not. And so to say, well, men do this, it's like, what? Not all men. Or women do this, it's like, not all women. Literally, relationships are tailor made. My experience in my first relationship was far different than my second, and they both lasted 11 years. You know what I mean? Different issues, different personalities. One was most definitely someone who relied on me to provide and all that. And another one was more of an alpha female. And hey, I got to go out of town for work this weekend. I'll be back. Right? Stuff like that. And I had to deal with both
Mhm.
of those dynamics. you know. And so I hear people talk about tradition and this and that and the third. I mean, relationships are so different, man. And I think if more programming comes out, first of all, a lot of young people don't want to get married, right? They don't want it. A lot of young people have
There's
seen
a
so much
shift.
nonsense, huh?
Now, I said that
Yeah.
there's a shift for sure, man. I have a daughter who's 16 and she hasn't spoken well about being married.
No, I mean they've seen what their parents went through, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of young people aren't even starting starting marriage right now, which probably is a good thing. And maybe they could actually learn the process. Just for me, my mom got with my stepfather when I was about 10 years old. My father wasn't in the picture at all. She got with my stepfather when I was about 10. They had the most beautiful relationship I ever seen in my life. They didn't get married until 24 years being together. But their relationship was beautiful. I never seen them argue. I never seen them have an attitude towards each other. It's not that it didn't happen. It's just the way that they conducted themselves in their relationship around me and my brother was very considerate of us, right? And
Mhm.
I in a lot of ways I'm like my stepfather who passed in 2016. A homebody to himself, so forth and so on. But he had the perfect woman. My mom was a homebody to herself, right?
Oh
Oh no.
no, we lost the signal. So while we wait for him to come back on, Tarika, we see you in the chat. Thank you. You said, "How are we doing?" We are fine. Oh, we got him back. Let's acknowledge. something else too before we bring our guest back on, because he was cooking. Like he
He
was
was
definitely saying
cooking.
something that I thought were gonna bring some gems. Tarika said that she wrote her letter. Tarika, we need to get you on to talk about your homework assignment.
Yes,
So
yes,
be
yes.
ready. I tried to reach out to you today, but time flew by. And she said that my daughter was pretty in her prom dress. Thank you. Thank you very much. She had a blast and immediately went to a college tour the very next day. So my baby growing up,
Your
y'all.
baby growing up. Oh.
All right, let's bring Colleen back on. Hey man, welcome back. We can't hear you this time. I can tell you're talking. Nope, still can't hear you.
Tech just won't let us be great.
Tech won't let us be great today. So
So while he's like, so I'm listening to this, and there's so many things that are coming into my head. The first thing that's coming to my head is number one, young people aren't thinking about marriage. They're not stunting marriage, right? That's what he said.
mm-hmm.
Young people aren't stunting marriage. But here's the issue, like that's not okay that they're not stunting marriage.
Why do you
And
say that?
here's why I say it's not okay. Because then if you're not stunting marriage, but notice how you don't hear anyone saying, that they don't want to have kids, they're just saying they're not stunting marriage, which means that we are producing more and more broken homes. So if today's kids have no desire to be married, which I'm not knocking your desire to not be married.
Same.
But if you have no desire to be married, but you're okay with having kids because you see everyone around you popping out kids. And when I say everyone around you, I mean like social media. So we see Nick Cannon and his 11, 12 kids?
About 50, 11 months.
50, 11 of them. We see him with all of his kids. And then we see so many other people with like their kids here, and marriage nowhere in sight. All we're doing is producing more and more broken homes. And that I'm not okay with.
I agree. And honestly, that's kind of where I said if you're going to be somebody that you want to have a family and give your offspring the best chance of a healthy lifestyle, then that's where I'm an advocate for marriage. Outside of that, I don't see a reason to do it, but that's another conversation. Let's see if Colleen's back on.
But so to add to that, so while you're waiting for him to come back up, to add to that, I think young people see, well, Nick Cannon looked like he's okay with all of his, children and like him not being with the mother and like all of that other stuff. But the reality is that child is only getting piecemeal Nick Cannon. Like they're not getting full access to him. And I think some young people forget the total access that you have to a parent who resides in your home. So you don't have that. Like I didn't grow up with my father. So like there are things that I see with you and your daughter, and I'm just like, I didn't have those opportunities as a kid. And I am not saying by any chance that my parents should have stayed together. Definitely not saying that. But what I am saying is that you run the risk of continuing to perpetuate that mindset or that mentality that it is okay to continue to procreate with a bunch of people and not have the consistency of two parents in a household. And that is not okay. Like, especially not if that is the cycle that is perpetuated from generation to generation to generation.
Agreed. And as we talked about at the beginning, these young kids and young people are seeing celebrities, and I'm highlighting the word celebrities because their resources aren't the same as the average person resources.
They're not. Okay. Nick Cannon comes from money and he has money. Like that, he ain't you, boo. Like he ain't you. Like,
his kids are still getting private school education and things like
all
that.
35 of them. Like they all getting it.
All right. So let's see if Khalil's back. Kaleem, I'm sorry. All right,
Yeah.
Kaleem, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Got you loud and clear.
You can hear me loud and clear?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it was going nuts. It was going nuts for a second.
Sometimes, man, these tech, they just have their issues because it looks like everything's fine on our side, and it might look like everything's fine on yours, but
oh no,
things be jacked up in the Matrix.
It's funny, I was watching the Matrix last night.
Yeah, so
Colleen.
I heard yeah, go ahead.
I have a very specific question for you. Have you heard of the Passport Bros?
I watch. I don't know if I heard of them, but I watch. Is it the dark skinned dude that travels all over the world?
Oh man, there's a couple of people that fit that category. But
The
there's
one guy,
this
this
thing
guy,
called.
the passport. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that there's a thing called the Passport Bros movement, where some people have said that men should not look for women in the Western world, and they should get their passport and go overseas. When you hear just that statement, what's your thoughts?
I think it's ridiculous. Uh, uh, we're about to take our toxic wings over there to those beautiful innocent souls, and you know, and deal with that whole thing. But nah, I just think we got to do the work and figure out how to be. I mean, listen, go where you want to go. I mean, this life, this universe is vast, and you never know where your experiences are going to take you. So wherever you need to find love at, my guy, go find love at. But I don't think it should be like a theme. And I know a couple of brothers that moved to Colombia and married women down there. You know, um, however, you're still the same guy. You
Hmm.
know what I mean? Dealing with so unless you feel like you are in a place where you could be a good husband, a good dude, it doesn't matter where you go at, you're going to end up with the same result.
Hmm.
I like that. So what I'm hearing is it doesn't matter what your zip code says, what your passport, how many stamps your passport may have. You still have to do the internal work yourself in order for you to go out and be healthy in a relationship. And I think that that is something that people forget. Like there is self-work that has to take place. You and I, again, like you said, when we met, you weren't thinking about dating. That wasn't something that was on your mind. But even if it happened, you recognize that you needed self work before you could even ever
Hmm.
think about being in a relationship again. Same thing with me. I recognized that there was some work that had to take place. There were some things that I had to let go. And I think that's what's wrong with some relationships today. A, people either don't recognize that they need to do work within themselves, or B, they recognize, but they're just like, whatever, it's not me. I'm not the problem. Like my ish don't stink. No, sir. No, ma'am. Like there's a level of work that we all need to do and we all need to put in order for us to enter into our next relationship healed and whole.
Yeah, and for me, I met a lot of women who were even older than me and came across very childish and gullible in a way.
Hmm.
Um, and and if I told them I wasn't looking for a sexual relationship, they would look at me and ask me if I was gay, right? Simply because I
I've
turned
had that
down,
happen.
right? Simply because I turned down sex. And it's like, well, I can't give everybody my energy now. You know what I'm saying? And so when men decide to be mature, as what you're saying in regards to him saying, hey, I got some work to do before I can date anyone, it's very rare that you find a woman who's going to be understanding because some women take it as rejection when a man decides to be mature. Um, I have a cousin who I introduced him to a woman, and she kept calling me like, "Hey, what's up with your cousin? He's not trying to do anything." So I called him. I said, "Yo, Jay, what's going on, man? She fine. She got it going on." And he said, "Cuz I don't give my energy to everybody." You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
and fast forward that story, he finally decided, okay, we're going to go ahead and do something. And before they went to go do whatever they were going to do, she decided to sit down on the foot of the bed and say, okay, I have to tell you something. And I'm not going to say the rest of the story, but whatever it was, my cousin said, wow. And that was the end of the relationship.
Hmm.
Right. So, and she came out of the bathroom nude, right? Nude, and told him, I got to tell you something before. So she tried to fully entice him, you
Hmm.
know, to and he was all, but he not slow. This guy is he's an executive. He's about his life. He's about his family. He's about his kids. And he said, "Sorry, sis, I can't do that." Right? So as we get older, I think it's, men and women, it's wise to start making decisions that are going to be healthy for yourself, and not just jump in and out of bed. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was molested at the age of 12 years old by a 27-year-old woman.
Mm-hmm.
So my response to women from that point on was that women have very little value to me. So I had 60 sexual partners by the time I was 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So the way I viewed sex was like it was nothing for the longest time. And I remember when I finally realized what happened to me. I was sitting down, I'm like, yo, this is what happened to me. And this is why I'm acting the way that I'm acting. And this is why I don't trust a soul. And I started putting it all together. And with all that being said, yes, that happened to me. Yes, it was an older woman. Uh, at the time as a kid, I thought it was cool because I was a boy, right? Only to grow up and realize that it was inappropriate and it was molestation and it messed up my mind going forward. But with all that being said, it was still left on me to have to do the internal work so I could start treating people better, right? So yeah, but when it's time to be into a relationship, I'm not gonna lie, that was a struggle for me,
Hmm.
And I think that
100%.
that's thank you so much for sharing that. As you said, well, before you shared that, Tarika put in the chat box that we have to be able to recognize our triggers and our trauma. And I think that that is something so huge. Like I'm gonna call a spade a spade. In our community, so in the Black community, there is so much trauma that has occurred, and we often dismiss it, sweep it under the rug, and don't chalk that up as to why a person may be the way that they are. I'm going to put the onus, like, I'm going to put it out there and say that when we're stepping into dating relationships, we really really do have to insert into dating with some grace, because we don't know what that other person is healing from.
Oh.
Hold on, because I know how you feel about that word.
Oh.
Hold on. So we have to enter it with a level of grace, but as the person who has experienced that trauma, you need to enter into that relationship with a level of healing. Like, you can not go into a relationship and either take out what has happened to you in the past
I
on
agree.
that current person, and B, you can't go into that relationship trying to escape what has happened to you
I
in
agree
the
with that
past.
too.
And I think that that is something that also happens, because I'm going to raise my hand and say that some of the relationships that I was in my youth, I entered them because I was trying to run away from the thoughts and the things that had happened to me. And when I was a child, like, this was how I was thinking, okay, like, I'm running towards some things because that was the behavior that I was used to. That was the behavior that I had seen. But I'm
Hmm.
also running away from dealing with those issues and healing from those issues because it's too great a task to handle. And I didn't know how to. Well, respectfully, I wasn't ready to be in a relationship. If I'm going to run from those things and not face them head on with a therapist, like, seek professional help, people. If I'm not willing to deal with those things with a therapist, then I can't. If I'm not responsible enough to heal, then I'm not responsible enough to love.
Mm,
A bar.
that's deep. That's a bar. That's a bar. That's a big bar.
And I'm sorry, like, that's how I feel about it. If you can't do one, then you definitely aren't ready to do the other.
There's something that I always say that makes me um I tell people that I realize I level up when you couldn't entice me with sex.
Mm.
And there
Mm,
was one or two relationships that I had somebody come at me like, "Oh, so you must be gay or whatnot." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And they're like, "I've done everything to let you know that I'm interested, and I'm trying to throw this thing on you, brother." And I'm like, "I don't make my decisions with my Johnson, so
right.
I'm good." And there's something that this one content creator that I follow, his name's Coach Greg Adam. He talks about guard your meat, money, energy, attention, and time. And something about that I love and I click. And I think I speak more to men on this channel. And I say, men, if you realize how valuable your meat is, pause, then, then you'll understand the how important the decisions that you make are, the decisions and who you choose to give your energy to, and how they can have a positive or negative effect on outcomes, not just in relationships but in other areas of your life as well. And I don't think people under the age of 30 really understand that. I think it takes you getting over the age of 30 and realizing how important your energy, attention, time, and money is. I'm trying to get that message to men at a younger age because no fault of parents. I'm a parent. My daughter, she's 5 minutes down the road from me. What I talk to her about is different because of her gender. Yet sometimes I say I forget the parent because I'm too busy living. I'm working. I'm doing hobbies. I'm doing other things. And when I have her every other weekend, or as I'm seeing her during events, or when I have her full time during the summer, I don't think to have those
Mm.
parenting moments where I'm telling her about how she's giving her energy to people and things like that. Talking about this out loud makes me realize I need to start doing that. I need to have those parenting conversations with her more often than when I do.
So
Absolutely.
that's a great question for you, Colleen. Do you have those parents? And you did say that you're a father. Do you have those conversations? Did you have those conversations with your children? You said that you have four daughters and you have one son. And again, while I may know the age of your son, I know everyone else doesn't. But are those conversations that you have had in the past with your children to kind of set them up and prepare them for the dating world that they're coming into?
Yeah, my 13-year-old right now, who's in North Carolina, she has a body. Okay, she's built like a grown woman. And so I say to her, I'm gonna need you to be the stuck-up girl at school. And she's like, what do you mean, Dad? I say, I want the guys to hate you. Okay? Like I don't want them to feel like you cool. Oh,
Get
she
that.
she with it. No, 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 no. I want you to have a thing where you're like, no, I ain't doing that. And so that way they no, she's stuck up. Literally. My oldest daughter, she's a knucklehead, and the reason she's a knucklehead is because she's seen what her mother and I went through. And so she takes a lot of my advice with a grain of salt, right? And we talk and we laugh and we play around and all that. Uh, but she's always been smart. Corinne has always been a leader of sorts. My 19-year-old, she's in a situation right now where her boyfriend is getting ready to go graduate from high school. She graduated last year, and he's going to go off with his life. I keep on telling her this guy is about to go off to college, figure out what he's doing with his life, and you're going to have to adjust to that. She's an artist. And I go, you're going to have to adjust to that. And I don't want you making decisions for a love that may be very temporal. All right. It's something that's hard for her to accept. And it's something that's hard for me to say because she really loves the guy.
Hmm.
Right. But this kid wants to be an engineer. He's not going to be an engineer spending all his days with you the way that he does now. Right.
Yes.
So I'm trying to get her to see that. And it's very hard for her to comprehend. Um, so girls are different. They want some advice on how to deal, but when they fall in love or they think they're in love and all that, is all you can do is hope and pray at that point. Now with my son, he's only 5, uh, and but he talks about girls a little bit and he's feeling himself. The big thing with him is be respectful because these kids are learning slang and terms at a much earlier age. So he learned the other word that you call women's breasts and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, KJ, no, that's not cool, bro. You see what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
yeah, so he's a little bit more advanced than I was at the age of 5 years old, because of the access to information that these kids have now with YouTube and the internet overall. They just have a lot more access to game and information, man.
Since you've put up that post, I can imagine that it's probably generated some conversation between people that saw it and folks that know you. What has been your conversation around that particular post that you posted?
God, I know all the women are in your inbox now because they all know that you're like, and I'm like, no, what are you talking about? am I like, am I missing something here? No, I have not a clue what's going on. Um, some people thought it was a needed conversation. A woman did get to me, Monica, and she said, "I that was a needed post and a great conversation to have." Um, you know, men are going to be a little bit more reserved in that regard, unless they're talking to a woman. A lot of times, ironically, but yeah, it's been a couple of women that just expressed. One woman that said that she's 37 and she wants to get married. She's actually with her kid's father. They've been together for a long time. She just doesn't think that he's marriage material, and they're together, and she wants to get married, right? So that kind of like was like, whoa. So you're with the guy, he's not marriage material to you. And she went through the whole run, man. The standard story of I'm taking care of all the bills right now. I'm taking care of the house right now. I'm taking care of this right now. I don't know what to do. And I'm like, what do you mean you don't know what to do to inspire the guy? He's 30 something years old. You got to be self inspired at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and really quick to tap into that, I know you asked a question in the message about why marriages aren't lasting. Well, now it may be a little different. I was driving through Frederick the other day, and I saw all these new houses popping up for $500,000, $600,000, right? In these Stepford Wives looking communities, right? And I'm like, wow, $600,000 for a townhouse. This is crazy. And I begin to think about people are getting married with $100,000 in debt on a credit card, right? Then they have student loans. Then they have this $600,000 house. Now you have bills, you have car notes, you have your insurances, you have your food budget, you have entertainment. Just to have a basic life, you're talking about a couple where both people may have to have two jobs at this point. Two jobs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or you're in a situation where if one person falls off, the whole thing collapses. Like literally, we're on the 3-lane highway, and you got to stay in that middle lane because if you go to the left or the right, you're going to crash.
Yeah.
And that's the stress that I see a lot of couples dealing with every time I turn around. So a woman is, oh, I'm working 2 jobs, I'm working 3 jobs. Men like, I'm working 2 jobs, bro. I'm doing this. Like, and I think women think they're doing all the heavy lifting. And I'm talking to men and saying they're doing all the heavy lifting. And some of them are single and some of them are in relationships. But this economy right now is, listen, the marriage isn't the most important thing in the marriage anymore. The marriage isn't the most important thing in the marriage anymore. And I had this conversation this morning where women who are far more emotional, the moment they see a blip in the matrix in regards to the house or the bills, they're, oh my God, babe, how we gonna take care of this? And men being men gonna say, I got it, babe, I got it. Right? And that one moment that he doesn't have it, she now tells it, oh, I couldn't trust him. I couldn't trust him. So I
Hmm.
took on 2 jobs. I took on 3 jobs. Well, how do you ever grow a marriage and build a marriage when 18 hours out of the day is not in the house?
Yeah.
It's not in the house. How do you do it?
Now
I just
I
don't get it. And just go ahead.
no. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. I wasn't saying anything.
And I was going to say, lastly, from a cultural standpoint, we see our brothers and sisters that come over from India. They can go to school to be engineers, be doctors, get their degrees, and then go back home and live with mommy and daddy while they stacking that bread up. Okay, like I don't know what kind of system that they have, but it's beautiful, right? And by the time this husband, I mean, they get married, man. They get married. They have their education, they have their careers, but they're living in mommy and daddy's basement, stacking bread, man. And when they finally decide to go on to take on this world, they have I don't know what the divorce rate is amongst Indians, but I'm quite sure it's lower than the average uh, family in America. I'm 100% certain it's going to be lower than ours.
I'm
So
pretty sure that if you looked at it, the divorce rate between, especially with this being the month of May and it being AAPI Awareness Month, I'm pretty sure if you looked at the divorce rate among our AAPI population, that it would be significantly lower than that of either the black or the white population.
now, what are you calling it? AAPI? What's that?
Yeah, what's that?
Asian American Pacific Islander. So the month of May holds everything. It is Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month. It is Mental Health Awareness Month. We have Teacher Appreciation Week, which is this week. We have Nurse Appreciation Week, which is also this week.
Wow.
We have Principals Day, which was the 1st of May, and we have, I think next week is like Military Forces Appreciation Week or something like that. This month got everything in it, just a little bit of everything.
Good to know. Good
I,
to know. I
ac-
didn't have a.
According to this source, World of Statistics, India is literally one of the lowest ranking percentages of marriages that end in divorce. This is in 2019, where the US is sitting at 45%, which is what you hear on different talk shows and social media stuff. India is at 1.9%.
Lord, I done told y'all.
Yeah.
Look, because like you said, in other countries, people get married and A, they're not taught about divorce. And B, the upbringing is different.
Mhm.
In America, we hold, and I'm saying in America, so notice how I'm not targeting any race. I'm saying in America, what we see are people who chase clout and they chase what they see on social media. So if I see on social media that all of the music that I like to listen to, and I'm going to say it, so let's say I'm a Swiftie, right? All of Taylor Swift's hits came from dissing the men that she was in relationships with.
Mm.
So every hit that she has is based on a failed relationship, right? That tells me I can be successful and I don't need a man. That's what I get from that. And
Mhm.
then you have other people, other celebrities who are out there. And again, you hear men as they're rapping, and most of them are dissing women as they're rapping. So again, not in no way, shape, or form are either one of those musical inspirations telling me that I should go and be in a relationship. That's not what you hear in like India or other countries. What you hear is this song talking about, oh, I love this woman. Oh, I love this man, the adoration that I have for them. The words are different. This is what the culture is different that these kids are absorbing as kids. And because that's different, they're going to produce different things as they get older. They're also, a lot of Asian countries don't necessarily meet their bride or groom until the day they get married,
Hmm.
and they're taught to work it out. They are prepared. And this is something we've talked about either on this show or on another show. But in other cultures, especially Asian cultures, they are prepared for marriage and groomed for marriage from their youth. That's when they're taught, okay, this is how you are a good wife. This is what you do. These are the things that you do. And then and men, this is what you do to prepare yourself to be a good husband. You need to provide. You need to do this. You need to do that. And together they are taught, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I need to be in a marriage. And divorce is never an option. Divorce is something that you hear over here, right? You don't even hear it in Jamaica. Like people learn to stay together in relationships outside of this country.
I got two things.
Now,
One, I want to read this comment by Tarika over on YouTube. Tarika said, "Why I believe that marriage or relationships don't last is because no one wants to take accountability." She followed that up by saying, "No one wants to be submissive. The women want to wear the pants." We've talked about that before.
We have.
And my take on it is that somebody has to lead, somebody has to follow. I prefer directing the train myself
Here you
because you can
go with
only
that
have
train.
one conductor on the train, right?
Okay.
So I say I am the conductor on this train, and the train's going this way. Everybody knows my train analogy by now if you've been
Come and
watching
ride
this
the
show.
train and ride
The
it.
second thing is that Kaleem talked about marriage, and we had an episode in which we talked about how finances are playing an impact in
Mhm.
either a relationship working out or not. And I overheard this couple when I was in Philly talk about the only reason why they even would see a marriage happening or getting married is to make a household work out, meaning you bring your money and resources together, I bring my money and resources together, because I can't make this thing work solo.
Yeah.
So they were
Right.
literally going through a discussion about, well, let's get married to relieve the financial burden from our individual selves.
Which is ridiculous. Um, and I'm saying it's ridiculous because you're going into a lifestyle that is dependent on both of you guys contributing to it, and if there's a falling out, one of you or both of you are now stuck with a burden that didn't have to happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm not getting with anybody because I want a loft apartment in Baltimore, right? I'll stay in Hagerstown and suffer for as long as I need to. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So the other thing, one other thing I wanted to say real quick about the woman wanting to wear pants and all that stuff, right? One of my favorite movies is the movie Fences with Denzel and Viola Davis, right? And the reason for that is there's a scene, is some of the best acting I've ever seen in my life. But Denzel is talking about when he had the affair. And he's saying, I met this woman and she made me laugh. And at home I was just feeling stuck. And Viola Davis lit him up. She said, what do you mean? She said, I was stuck too. And this is the most remember when this play is written. I think it's written
Mhm.
like 1921 or something like that. August Wilson.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
he writes this in there for a woman to say, I have dreams too. Man, that tore me up, Doc. I don't care what nobody says. That when Viola Davis said that, and when you put it into the context that August Wilson wrote that thing over 100 years ago, for a woman to say, I have dreams too. There's things that I wanted to do with my life too. I felt stuck too. That blew my mind, man. It blew my mind. And so you
Hmm.
fast forward to 2024, and it's this thing about women wanting to wear pants and all this stuff. Well, guys, go to Proverbs 31. Go to Proverbs 31. And you find this woman. Now, it's multi-layered, right? You find this woman who's a hustler. She's an entrepreneur. It says that she purchased a field with her own earnings, meaning she was getting some money. And then it said she left her light on at nighttime because she was still hustling. But it also said this: her husband was respected as he sat with the elders, sat at the gate amongst the elders, right? In other
Hmm.
words, her husband isn't going to be respected if her husband isn't accomplished as well. So her husband isn't some bum, right? They're both doing if you look at it the right way, the husband and the wife are both getting to life. They're both doing their thing. And that is in Proverbs 31. They're both doing their thing. It doesn't say that she runs the household, right? It doesn't say that she's leading her husband, but from a business standpoint, from a monetary standpoint, it says literally she purchased a field with her money. With her money. It blows my mind. I'm sorry. I have daughters. So this is the kind of stuff that I do talk to them about. Cause I want them to know who they are
Right.
in this world. I want them to know who they are. Don't be looking for a guy that can let you ride shotgun in a car. Either you're gonna get your own car or he gonna buy you a car. But riding shotgun, the moment he decided to kick you out, you on the side of the road.
Yep. Now, there was something else that you said as well, and I'm not sure if you lost your audio or not. So if I uh, stepped over you, my bad. I have a daughter, and one of the things that I'm telling her is that I'm not teaching her to be independent and you can be bad all by yourself. That's not my message. My message is that as a person, right? You, me, anybody that is breathing oxygen on this earth, you should be able to sustain yourself,
Mhm.
right? You should be able to do that as an able-bodied person. If you're an unable-bodied person, that's a different story. But the able-bodied people out there should be able to sustain themselves. But there is nothing wrong with saying that I want to do something with someone else for whatever that reason is, whether you want to call it love, whether you want to call it obligation, whether you see something in that I bring this person value, they bring me value. I like the way that this is, so I'm rocking with it. There, to me, there's beauty in that. So I'm not telling my daughter, hey, you need to go out here and do this on your own and not depend on no other person. No, 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 no. And that's why I think that you get this strong and independent type person that they've been taught that because the education system is different now. There's more access and was it Title 4D and I
Title
might
Nine.
be Title 9. I might be missing it, but basically saying that because it doesn't matter what your gender is, you have access to the same things that anybody else has access to.
Mm.
And you had this group of people that heard this message. I don't need nobody else,
Yep.
and it's caused them to. I think it's messed up the marketplace in a way that you're seeing people go, well, if they saying that they don't need nobody else, okay, cool. I'm not going to use them for anything other than bedroom fun.
Yeah. And I think that's the issue that we're crossing into. We have to, there's a fine line between that, between preparing someone for adulthood and teaching them to do everything on their own and not to rely on people. And there's a song that says, long as I got King Jesus, I don't need nobody else. Not no mama, daddy, sister, brother. As long as I got King Jesus, I don't need nobody else. And I feel like I grew up singing that song, but it teaches a level of I don't need nobody else, when in reality we do need other people. And I know how you feel about that. But again, let's go back to Genesis. Let's go back to Genesis, where when Adam was alone, that's when God was like, no, this isn't right. Like, it's not right. We were not created to be alone. We were created to be with someone. And I think sometimes we lose that in this whole independent search, because again, we're comparing ourselves to celebrities and we ain't celebrities.
There's a comment in the chat that I want to read here, Kaleem. It's from Tarika. Said, "Why don't we talk about Proverbs 6:20?" I'm not familiar.
I'm about to pull it up. I'm
Okay,
about
and
to
let me make sure
pull
that
it
our guest
up.
is still here. Kaleem, are you still there, brother? All right, Kaleem, if you're there, we cannot hear you. I'm
620.
going to type into the chat. We can't hear you. All right.
All right, so Proverbs 6:20 says, "My son, observe the commandment of your father and do not forsake the teaching of your mother." And just going back up to kind of read what was happening in there. It's about that whole passage is about parental counsel. So what parents are supposed to be able to teach people. Right before it, I have something personal highlighted, which says there are 6 things which the Lord hates, 7 which are an abomination, and then you go down to 20, and that's where it says observe the commandments of your father and do not forsake the teaching of your parents. So essentially, making sure that we are listening to what our parents say and the guidance that our parents give us. So that's what 620 is talking about. Proverbs 620
Can
is talking about.
you guys hear me?
Yep, yep,
Mhm.
yep. Got you back,
Okay.
man. Sean Bolden over on
Really quick.
YouTube.
Mhm.
Yeah, man.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
No, no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I'll be brief. Sean Bolden over on YouTube talked about the word interdependence, and I struggle saying that, so I'm gonna give myself props for saying it correctly. In that and he was talking about when I was discussing people not needing,
Mhm.
saying that they don't need somebody, but choosing to like work with somebody, interdependence. And he said, "Good evening to the King and Me." Hey, Sean, I appreciate you popping up, brother. Salute. Kaleem, you have the floor.
Yeah. Say that again. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
You
you
have
have
the
the
floor,
floor.
sir.
Oh no, I was just going to say back to when we look at the Proverbs 31 situation. Let's keep in mind they were a married couple.
Mhm.
There was a couple, right? It was actually it wasn't she wasn't independent of him. What's the word you guys just use? Interdependent, something like that.
Yes.
Yeah, she was doing her thing. She was a businesswoman. She was a businesswoman, and I love bringing it up because in recent times you hear women saying stuff like, "Oh, women, we doing our thing now. We bosses. Women, women boss and all that stuff." I'm like, this is old news.
Yeah.
This is old, this is old news. You have to know the historical data though. Madam C.J. Walker was out here tearing it up, right?
Hmm.
Kathy Hughes, who owns TV One. There's some powerful women that have run businesses and who have been married and have had husbands. Joyce Myers, I saw her do a sermon years ago uh, where she says, "Yes, I make all the money. Yes, I have this huge church. Yes, I'm getting it, but I still listen to my husband." That was Joyce Myers years ago,
Mhm.
Hmm.
right? So that is the hard balance because right now we hear stuff about, well, if the woman is bringing more money into the house, then how's she gonna listen to that man? We hear that stuff all the time, right? um and to me to me there's so much on surface level thinking when it comes to marriage and when it comes to relationships. And if you just dive a little bit deeper and if you look at the historical record, you see times and periods where men and women have made things work through the hard and difficult times. And I don't think we want that right now. For me, like I said, I've been married twice, 11 years. So I gave it a shot, right? And I believe that marriage is a beautiful thing. But correct me if I'm wrong, the Bible also says a man that finds a wife finds a good thing, right? That's what they say. That's how they pass it. Finds a
That's
good
what
thing,
the
right?
word says. That's scripture. Yep.
Right? So it doesn't say a man that finds a woman. It says a man that finds a wife, which could be two different things. And on top of that, that means he wasn't they weren't married when he found her. He found her and it was his wife. He found her and it was his wife. That's the way that I've always interpreted it. So I don't know, man. Like I said, today here in 2024, with social media, with hot takes, with shock value statements, and all this different nonsense, you would think that the world was coming to an end when it comes to marriage. I still believe marriage is a beautiful thing, but we need to sit down and really ask the hard questions and develop friendships with each other, and then see if it's worth going forward. I met a girl um, online who was a 37-year-old. She's virgin. She's a virgin.
Hmm.
She's a virgin. Okay, and she's like, I'm not having sex until I get married. And I'm like, whoa. And she goes, I'm not coming off of that. I'm not changing. And that was her commitment in a relationship that she felt like she had with God, right?
Hmm.
But I'm sitting there thinking from a human standpoint, I'm like, first I got to figure out about.
Man, we
No!
lost you
Again,
again.
like right as you're getting to the crux of what you're saying. Oh man.
Where I think he was gonna go was talking about sexual compatibility,
Yeah.
because we've talked about the different pillars: financial, sexual. The recall on the other ones are escaping me right
Yeah,
now,
same. It's not
but
coming.
that's important,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you look at the divorce rates, a lot of what we're hearing about are people talking about, folks say lack of sex, others will say lack of intimacy,
Which are two different things.
and they are two totally different things.
And I think that's something that people need to be aware of, that sex and intimacy are two totally different things. So if you notice one thing, especially because of the angle of the camera, you'll notice that King and I keep like holding hands, or I keep holding his finger or something like that. Because to me, that is intimacy. And one of my love languages, one of my love languages is physical touch. So I will touch him, and this to me is an intimate setting. There's a difference between sex and intimacy. But since Kaleem is back, we'll let him go ahead and finish.
All right, so Kaleem, where you left off was you were talking about the 37-year-old virgin and your thoughts. Go ahead.
Well, it was just when I had to be honest with her, because when I started to think about the process to even thinking about if I would want to be married, right, to her, that's a long journey in itself. To go from dating to I really like this girl to let's get engaged to now we getting married. Like, there's a long journey, and I'm not saying that it's for her. It's not. I'm not saying that she's wrong. I'm not saying that she's being unrealistic. If that's what she really wants for herself, and that's a commitment that she made for herself, absolutely have at it. But for myself, when I've thought about it, I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not built for that. You know what I mean? And maybe she will find a man who is built for that, and maybe he's a virgin as well. But if he's not, and he's experienced in this life, that thing, then she's going to have a lot of trouble. And I talked to her recently, and she's still single, and she's a principal at a school, has a great career, has her own house, got a Cadillac Escalade, doing her thing, but she can't keep a man because of that thing right there. And I don't know if it's that. I don't know if keeping the man is more important to her than her faith.
I've just always been curious about how that works because finances, sex, and a couple of just how people communicate. Like
Yes, that's
when
it.
you look at divorces, it's typically one of those three things. Um, so I'm curious, for somebody that's made it to almost the age of 40, how you are going to understand your sexual compatibility with somebody if you've made it to 40 and you haven't done that.
How I think he said something that's great. It's different if both parties
Hmm.
are virgins. And the reason is because neither one of them knows what they're missing out on, right? And they've both been able to hold to that value. It is a bit harder when either one of them still is, but the other is not. You are going to run into some difficulties then.
Oh, we have some questions, and I want to
Okay.
bring this up. Tarika said, How do I call in?" Tarika, we're actually coming up on our time, and we are about to end the show, but we can certainly keep this as a conversation. Maybe have it
Yeah.
more of a its own segment going forward. So I'm not going to drop the link, Tarika, because we are about to end the live stream tonight. But I appreciate you wanting to call in. Absolutely. Sean said, "How many men aren't qualified for her faithful beliefs?" Excellent
That part.
point. That part.
That part. So it's a level of compatibility. Like most men are going to want to test out their sexual compatibility, where she's trying to test out the spiritual compatibility. And I'm going to tell y'all a secret right now. Just because a man is in church and a man believes in God does not mean that he is willing to uphold that sexual compatibility, that wait period with her. So let's just go ahead and call that spade a spade.
Well, hey, Colleen, we are coming up on the end of the show. I appreciate you for tuning in. To have somebody cold reach out, can possibly be something that you're like, wait, who is this person? But I'm glad that you were willing to come on and have a conversation with us. I have one final question for you, and then I'll give you the floor to close us out. You've made that post. you've came out of your second marriage. What is your outlook on how you see life working for you going forward?
I mean, really, I'm in a place of solitude right now.
Hmm.
Um, I put up a post not too long ago that said I'm broken but blessed, and
Mhm.
I had to accept the place that God has me in right now, so I can deal with myself and I can heal for myself. The main thing for me is, I heard someone say healing isn't so you can deal with the pain, but healing is so that way you can deal with the happiness or the joy that's to come once you've healed, right? And so, the struggle for me is having younger kids, um, and this in a broken household. And so for me, everything is about them, and everything is about me figuring out just how to be a better person myself. There, there was things that she could have did better. There's things that I could have did better, but all I can worry about is me. All I can worry about is me going forward. So I'm happy. I wasn't happy for the longest time in terms of where I was at. I call it the four wall syndrome, when you're in the apartment by yourself, and your bedroom by yourself, and you're looking at those walls, and those, it might be five walls, the ceiling, when you include the ceiling. But you find yourself just looking at those walls. You're like, and I'm sitting there going, wait a minute now, God, I never saw myself being this 40-plus-year-old guy alone in an apartment looking for Hungry Man meals. Like, I never saw that happening to me. Um, and so just making the adjustment and looking forward on how to be a better person and a better husband if I was to remarry all over again.
No doubt. All right. Oh, and I saw that you did go to Chef Q's event this past weekend. How was it?
Chef Q's event. Which one was that? Hold on.
B.
B.
Anderson's
Anderson's.
soul food place here in Frederick, Maryland.
Oh, I didn't go. Yeah, I didn't go to an event. Um, that's just my homie. Whenever I stop in, and she always says, "I never remember your name," but she remembers everything about me. Right? She remembers
Man,
my. Yeah, she remembers that my
yeah.
son has allergies, all that. And so I was just in there. I'm hosting an award show for Goodwill on Wednesday, and so I was out there looking for an outfit real quick, and I stopped in and we sat in there and talked until the restaurant closed down. So yeah, that's my homie.
Okay, yeah. Hey, she is a fantastic person. I'm in there almost like every other week. I've also stopped in really just to go in and say, hey, she is a supporter of our live stream and show as well. And the amount of people that she's touched, the impact that she has, like, I don't know how more people don't know who she is, but she has an excellent memory. It
Oh,
is
she does.
crazy the
She
amount of stuff that
does.
she
Oh my
remembers.
God. She truly, truly does. And she's an amazing woman.
Yeah,
Love just being able to chat with her. And when I tell you she supports local businesses, she supports local businesses, entrepreneurship ventures. Like, she is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, and the event that
yeah.
I thought that you were at was she had live music this past Saturday, and I would have been there except I was out of town in Philly over the weekend.
So, babe, we had a great
No,
episode this
I
week.
didn't make it to no event.
Okay,
Okay, okay. We had a great episode this week with Colleen popping in. Last week we had Ariel, Steven, and Kendra. And I see right now that both Sean and Tarika wanted to jump in and join us. Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
call in show next week. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's
Let's do
do it.
it.
All
I'm here
right,
for it.
all
Here's my
right.
fist, my poor fist.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad. I ain't need to be me you hang, babe. Well, hey, Khalil, thanks for joining. We appreciate you taking the time and the opportunity for coming on to our show. Did I mess up his name again? Doggone it, my bad. Kaleem. I want to say Khalil for some reason. Kaleem,
Yeah,
thank you for joining the show. I appreciate you taking the time to come on and
thank you.
just be open and transparent with us. Do you have anything else to say prior to us das booting you and closing out the show?
Well, yeah. Well, just thanks for having me on, and much success to you guys to keep on doing what you're doing. I heard you say several times that you want to try to convey the message to young people, and and get this thing out there. Best way to do it is to be an example, right? To be an example, right? If marriage is in the card for you guys, just do it the right way. I always tell everybody it's going to be the wrong person until it's the right person. And dictate.
I like that. You hush your mouth.
And a person being
All
the wrong
right,
person
brother.
doesn't mean that they're a bad person. They just I lost you.
That's true. That's true.
Facts.
That's true. No, we heard you. We heard you. That
Now
was
we heard you.
good. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Colleen.
All right,
Thanks, man.
Thank you
I know
for
we're about to lose.
joining.
All right, good night, y'all. Peace.
All right,
Good
peace.
night.
All right, that was dope.
That was a good show.
I didn't want to say it live, but he sounds like Exhibit. Like his
So
voice.
you wait till he
So I waited till he left to say he sounds like Exhibit. But like he just got a cool sounding voice. Like I'm thinking, man, I wish I had a voice like that. We did have a first time watcher. We got that's what she said. Hey,
yes.
Hey. Said peace, King and Michelle. Hope all is well. First time catching you guys live. Hey, appreciate you popping in. I catch some of the stuff that the Harris tribe over there has on, and their content is pretty interesting. Like I always go, I never thought about that. There is something that they say every single time that goes, I never thought about
and
that.
And that's how you know it's a quality show if that's what your thought is every single time you tune in.
But I appreciate you popping in as well. So we're about to close out the show.
Yeah.
This is our second time having guests and stuff call in, and it's been really good. It's been really productive. So I saw that Sean and Tarika wanted the opportunity to call in as well. We'll have it set up for that way next Monday. We are having a show next Monday, right?
Yeah.
Monday the 13th. Okay. It's live is what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's live.
Okay. All right. Cool beans. Because we got some. Look, May and June are going to be some really busy months for both of us. Actually, May through July is going to be some really busy months for us. So while most of our shows are indeed a live stream, there are going to be a couple of pre-recorded Mondays between here and June that's going to happen. Not that many. 3 that I'm thinking of.
I think between the whole summer, we're looking at a possibility of 4. So literally May through August. Oh, wait. Okay, so maybe like 5. Maybe 5. And it's only because like I'm traveling, we're traveling. So there's one this month that, I have senior awards, and then there's one where we're going to be traveling. I mean, we could do a live from the car, but it would definitely look different.
Yeah.
And then in June, I don't think we have anything. July, we have the week that I'll be in Selma, and then I guess the week when we're in Philly. And then in August is the 1 week when I have the board of directors training.
The retreat.
Yeah, right. The retreat.
Cool. Hey, we out here living lives. Let's see. Look, so we know where y'all are at.
Mm-hmm.
We're not too far. We've been linking up with Dating to Marriage Support because they're in Maryland as well. I'm trying to get something together because I know everybody's got lives, they've got their families and stuff. I would like to get us all, like the content creators that are around this space, to link up and make a day out of it or something here over the summer, maybe even in the fall time frame. When we linked up with Lady Di, it was during the football season, as James, a college football fan as well. But we love to link up with y'all. We got the Real Precious that's also in this area as well. Let's set something up. Let's just get together, not on anything YouTube related, but just about life in general. I got a good sense that everybody, I think, could really kind of get a good vibe off of that. So if y'all are game, we're game.
And we're always down to hang out. We love hanging out. So please hit us up. Let us know. Oh, they in Maryland too. Wait, so why we haven't... Wait a minute. Hold on now. Let me adjust the glasses real quick.
Yeah, we're down. Sometimes we are down near Baltimore. Like we were down in Baltimore for something couple of months back.
Yeah, it's been a little
It
minute.
has been a minute.
Dang it. We
Your cousin's thing.
Oh yeah. So that was Easter.
Yeah, that was Easter.
Okay.
All right. We rambling. Look.
We ramble.
Thanks for joining. We'll be back live next Monday. To everybody that tuned in live, thank you. To the people that's going to rock on the replay, we appreciate you as well, because we do have a replay gang. I like that. We have a replay gang. So if there's a like button on your platform, please be sure to hit that like button. To Perry Productions over on Facebook, that allows us to stream on his platform as well. That's my dog. Have some safe travels. He's going to be doing some passport traveling over here. So safe travels to you as well.
Safe travels to you.
And we always end our show in a very standard way. This time, I'm coming to you.
Oh, you coming to me because you know I'm a little bit broken.
I love you, baby. Happy Teacher Appreciation Week and all that stuff.
Happy Teacher Appreciation Week to all. Bye, y'all.
See ya. Oh, I can't hit this fast enough. Boom. Peace.